The Denver Broncos have hired Peyton Manning to be their next head coach. I wish. So today's show, we're going to have a little bit fun with it, like Mike Klis did from 9 News, where he went through some Jeff Saturday-esque replacements for Nathaniel Hackett. So if you've been living under a rock, the Colts fired Frank Reich, brought back Peyton Manning's, oddly enough, old center, Jeff Saturday, to be their interim head coach in a very bizarre move where Jeff Saturday was just a consultant for the team. He was not a coach or anything like that, has high school coaching experience, and that's it. So Mike Klis did a fun write-up, and I liked it, and he wrote 9 Jeff Saturday-like candidates for the Denver Broncos. And his first one was the sheriff, right? Peyton Manning. Here's what Mike Klis said exactly. The most logical of these illogical candidates, Manning was long considered to have the smartest football mind during his 18-year arm-waving, call-the-play-at-the-line playing career. Problem is, Manning is so hugely popular, more now than ever. He seemingly is the best at everything he does, including watching a game like a common fan during his Manning Cast Monday Night Football shows. The surest way for Manning to lower his likability is to become an NFL head coach. This is a fun idea, but it's a dream, and that's all it is. A dream. A great dream. Dreams are good to have. I'm not saying don't have dreams, but this is one that we should not expect to actually happen for the Broncos, where if the Waltons come down and say, Hackett, you've been an embarrassment, we're going a different direction, we're bringing Peyton Manning in. I don't think Peyton Manning wants to come be a head coach. I thought Mike pointed out some great reasons. He's likable right now. You know what's a great way to become unlikable? Be a head coach and lose games. Have the entire city turn on you. Do you think he hasn't learned anything from John Elway? Maybe lingering a little bit too long with the Broncos? Where now everyone remember him as, the GM, the president who couldn't get the quarterback right in the draft. Instead of being number 7, John, the legend, with Super Bowls during the 90s. All that good stuff here. Now, here are some other guys that were on Mike's list I want to share with you. Dave Logan, part of the broadcast. Al Williams, Mark Schlereth, Shannon Sharp, Orlando Franklin, Ryan Harris. I sure could use a new Orlando Franklin moving forward. Tyler Columbus, Brandon Stokely. These are all fun. That's all this is. It's just fun. And it's fine to have something fun to talk about when your team is 3-5. Because there usually isn't a huge amount of positivity buzzing around. Now, when I was looking for odds of the next head coach fired, because we've already had 2 head coaches fired, I came across these odds right here. The Indianapolis Colts head coaching odds for the next one. Peyton Manning was number 1. That blew my mind. The fact that Vegas thinks there's actually a good and better chance that he's the head coach than, say, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn, or Brian Johnson, right? Plus 475. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I wanted to get that to you guys here. Now, we're going to talk more on this subject in just a second. But if you want Peyton Manning to be the next head coach, let's try and type it into existence. Let's spam 18 in the comments section below. Type it in 18 times for all I care. And who knows? Maybe he comes across this video and he's like, Broncos country, they deserve better. I'm going to take, I'm going to Superman. I'm going to take the suit off, put the cape on, and I'm going to Mile High, and I'm going to take over this team and turn this season around. Another reason why we're sort of having this half conversation is that coaches' leashes are getting shorter, it feels like. We've already had 2 head coaches fired before double digits in weeks, right? Matt Rule with the Panthers, and then we got Frank Reich with the Colts. Someone fact check me. Has there ever been a time where 2 head coaches were fired in the first 9 weeks of the season? Urban Meyer got to week 13. Now, that was just his first year. Frank Reich, Matt Rule have been around a little bit longer, but it does beg the question. It does raise the question that are GMs and ownership quicker to pull the plug now than ever before? And it used to sound pretty outlandish to get canned in the middle of your first season and not even get a full slate of games. But we've seen 2 head coaching changes within the first 9 weeks. Wouldn't shock me if this franchise that sold for nearly $5 billion doesn't want to sit around and wait for Hackett to get it together. Now, here are the next head coaching fired odds. where Nathaniel Hackett is even money. If you're not a betting connoisseur, that doesn't mean it's good. It means it's more likely than Cliff Kingsbury at plus 225, Lovie Smith plus 550, Josh McDaniels plus 600, Kevin Stefanski plus 950. Now, I'm not going to suggest you go bet on this to happen because that's kind of a bummer thing to do, but even money, listen, that's probably not the best return on your investment. Feels like plus 500, worth putting a 10 bone down right there. But my overall sort of take on Hackett after the win against Jacksonville, listen, a win against the Jags does not get you an extendable leash, right? That should not buy you the rest of the season because, well, he had that one win against Jacksonville in London. You were always supposed to win that game. Doing stuff you're supposed to do shouldn't be a reward, right? That's like doing your homework and saying, so am I going to get an A+ now for the entire semester? No, you were always supposed to do this. I intend complete disrespect to Jacksonville too, Ricky Bobby style, and say beating the Jags should not get you a trophy. It should not get you extra time to try and smooth things over. If the offense continues to struggle and show a lack of identity and lack of progress into November and God forbid December, yeah, I think a change should be made. All right, on yesterday's video, we had some news come out. Caden Davis got signed by the Broncos to the practice squad. Kush got put on IR, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But we picked up 37 subscribers. It's pretty big numbers here in the YouTube world for a medium-so channel, but growing very rapidly. Can we get 40 subscribers on today's video? If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And if you already have subscribed, share it to someone, right? Send it to a friend, a Broncos friend or family member, and say, hey, help this guy out. He's getting out some great Broncos YouTube coverage, and we're trying to blow the channel up. All right, let's check out the remaining schedule for Denver because it has some winnable games coming up, especially if Malik Willis, I'm going to call my shot now and maybe I'll eat my words later, starts for Tennessee this Sunday. Tell me it's not impossible to knock off Willis and the Titans, the Raiders, who we'll talk about in more detail in just a second, and then the Panthers. You could string together some wins here. So if Hackett fails to do so against a potential Malik Willis Titans team, or this Raiders game specifically. Let's actually talk about this Raiders matchup here. Because if the Raiders lose to the Colts, and the Jeff Saturday-led Colts this Sunday, and that's who the Raiders have, and Josh McDaniels gets fired, and then it's the Broncos with Hackett against the Raiders interim head coach, and the Raiders, like last year the interim head coach, beat the Broncos. Might this just be a domino effect of, well, then ownership goes, dude, you couldn't beat the Raiders at home with who have 2 wins with their interim head coach? That's the final straw. And then it might just be a trickle-down effect of Jeff Saturday killed Josh McDaniels, Raiders interim head coach kills Nathaniel Hackett. You see what I'm saying here? So I would just keep an eye on this. If Jeff Saturday beats the Raiders this Sunday, I think Josh McDaniels is done. And if the Raiders with an interim come to Denver and beat Hackett, you can already believe it'll be full-blown meltdown mode. And I'm not even sure Hackett has a job Monday morning. All right, I want to talk about Hackett, though, and actually give him a bit of some slack, if you will, because Lloyd Cushenberry is on injured reserve, and he's the 8th Broncos starter to go on IR. And this sucks for a lot of reasons. One, the Broncos have been one of the most injury-plagued franchises for a very long time, to the point where it doesn't feel like it's just unlucky anymore. It feels like the front office, the conditioning, the workout staff, all that goes into keeping players in tip-top shape, it's not working. Something has to change here. 8 starters have gone on IR this year. The Broncos have had 13 players on IR right now. That makes up, by the way, 25% of their entire salary cap. 25% of their salary cap is team IR right now. So could injuries sort of give Hackett a pass, right? Where he can go to George Payton's office and say, I know that we are not where we want to be right now at 3-5, but I've also had 8 of my 22 starters spend time on IR. Give me a break for this, right? And I'll expand on that in just a second. But BetUS, our sportsbook partner today, well, they are back with a great deal for you guys here. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Broncos125, you will unlock a 125% deposit bonus. In English, pretty much, let's say you put $100 in, they're going to match that $100. And then they're going to give you a quarter of that, 25. So $225 to play with. Not advertising that you go ahead and bet on the Broncos, but the NFL, college football, whatever it is that you like to, put a little cheddar down, put your money where your mouth is. Just make sure all of your picks are made at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Broncos125. Overall, injuries or no injuries, in my eyes, Hackett still looks way too lost. Every team deals with injuries. It is unfortunate that the Broncos have gotten more than their fair share, and the injury report is always the length of a Bible, but nevertheless, injuries happen all the time in the NFL, and if you can't combat them whatsoever, to me, I don't see a reason why it's going to change in the future. When injuries inevitably happen to teams, yes, this is more than your fair share amount, and it's at some key positions, but you've also had some of your key guys for most, if not all, the season so far, like your starting quarterback, like your top 5 cornerback, your 2 receivers, and Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. In fact, speaking of Sutton, I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and I wanted to open it up to you guys here. Who's the MVP so far for this team? Honestly, who is it? I don't think you can put Russ. That's a cowardly move. PS2, I think, is a very, very good answer. Not because he doesn't deserve it, but because everyone else has not shown anything to be deserving of a MVP award. In fact, Patrick Surtain is ranking 4th out of 113. Look at his stats so far this season. PFF has him top 5 amongst all cornerbacks. Completion percentage allowed of 56.1. Yet to give up a touchdown this year in coverage, and only 162 yards. He shut down Devontae Adams. He shuts down every team's number 1 receiver. I think it's 2 for PS2. Let me know who you think the MVP is in the comment section through 8 weeks so far. That's going to do it for us on today's show. I appreciate all of you guys for clicking on to it, making us a part of your day. I'm going to see you guys later with more Broncos news and rumors. Until then, go Broncos.